Here we are.
First time in, 8 years that we've known when the season was going to end for sure?
Over.
All over.
Wow.
Over. And this is our last podcast until October, so we'll see you guys in a bit.
Woohoo!
Everybody have a good
summer.
We're not going anywhere.
I told CJ this. I thought you'd appreciate it. So I'm doing Carl Landry Record Club with Mootlu earlier, and we keep having these like connection issues. And he wasn't doing the show from his home, so he had to use wireless and blah, blah, blah. So the last like 2 or 3 times, I just assumed it was his internet. And he was like, hey, could it be my computer? I was like, it might be a good idea to like format the hard drive, reset it, blah, blah, blah. I go, how old is it? And he's like, 2011.
That could be it.
I was like, at first I was aghast, and then I was impressed that the computer, like what a testament to Apple, that a MacBook from 2011, you could be doing a podcast in 2025 with no upgrades.
Yeah, that is impressive. I have, I do like an 8-year rotation.
Oh, really?
I can get 8 years out of it.
Okay.
But by that last year is sputtering. It's holding off a little bit. So, but I mean, 14 is, that is
We started
insane.
this in 2013.
That is insane.
So
What do you write in, Mike? Docs?
No, Final Draft is like the script writing software.
Okay. I'm assuming that's not super computer heavy on like needing
Not really.
the latest and greatest.
No, I mean, Final Draft, because it's like, it's basically word processing just for script formatting and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's like other special shit you can do, but I pretty much just use it for writing and just it's all like formatted easily. But because it's just like figured out, I think they intentionally have to make it like kind of buggy so that you have to buy the next version. Otherwise,
one.
there's just like there's no reason for it to continue
Buy a new
existing.
one.
So that's annoying. But it's it's fine.
the only time I ever notice it, when I really start noticing it, when I get a new laptop, is processing on Audition and Photoshop, and like that's the big thing that I notice. If I didn't use that, I feel like I could use a laptop forever.
Yeah. Remember launch times when they took forever? And now, it seems like everything just kind of
opens.
Yeah. It's great.
Well, let's go. Here we go. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS, and brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. Briggs Auction, the official auction of the Ricky, briggsauction.com. Adam Ksebe, the official realtor of the Ricky, at 302-864-8643. And Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka, 100 calories, 3 grams of sugar, 0 bubbles. On the show today, the season is over. The Sixers end the season 24-58, the 5th worst record in the NBA. And we are relieved.
We did it.
We did it. We got here. I can't believe there's no more games. God bless. We'll get to this a little bit long. Still a few lottery party tickets available, general admission. The thing will sell out at some point. At some point, Yabusele's going to tweet out the link or something, and that'll be it. So if you want to go, make sure you sign up. Remember, it is the Lottery Party and Live Ricky 6, May 12th at Franklin Music Hall. We look forward to seeing you there. I did mention Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka. Boy, it is the best. And at some point here in the Northeast, it's actually going to warm up, and it's going to start feeling like spring and summer. And that's when you know Surfside time is there. Ike was saying the other day, he likes to sit out back with the grill and a couple of Surfsides on the weekend. Come on. What is your favorite? Is it the green tea and vodka? Is it the straight up iced tea and vodka? Is it the peach tea and vodka? What is it? What's your favorite? They have so many varieties, and they're all great. They all have just 100 calories, 3 grams of sugar. None of them have any carbonation because iced tea shouldn't have bubbles. Get it wherever you get your booze. It's everywhere now.
I went to Dodger Stadium and saw some Surfsides.
Oh, they had a Dodger Stadium now?
Dodger Stadium.
Wow.
Dodgers Cubs yesterday. Dodgers lose by 16, but the Surfside's going down easy, baby.
There you go. Yeah, I remember the stunning moment when I saw a billboard for it in New York. I was like, holy shit, man.
We did it.
We did it.
We should have put our logo on all the Surfsides.
We
Just
should have.
like real small.
Real small.
Just like almost.
That should have been the deal. That should have been the deal.
We have to be just a little bit.
Little tiny logo.
Yeah, even underneath it.
We
Who's
do
looking
have
underneath it.
We do have the stateside bottles that have our logo on it.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could get a can. Do you think they would do a can for us?
I think they would. Yeah, I think they would.
All right, we'll have that conversation. Anyway, get it wherever you get your canned cocktails. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
Larry, sweetie, the man is here. Say the name. I say the name. I say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Forever.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who basically lost to me in his fantasy football championships. Congratulations, Legs.
Basketball.
That is one Mike Levin.
Fantasy basketball.
Fantasy basketball. What did I say? Baseball? Fantasy basketball.
Yeah, I said that Legs won. Legs earned it. I lost one time all year, and it was to John Gonzalez, 5-3.
Yeah.
And then in the playoffs, Legs just blows in the championship. Legs blows me out. I was a colossus all season long, and then Legs' team jailed at the right time. My team fell off, and he earned every bit of it.
I think the last time we talked, you were on your way to losing. You hadn't lost.
Oh yeah. He took it handily.
Legs writes in, I wanted to congratulate Mike on a successful fantasy basketball season, but one that wasn't quite as successful as mine.
True enough.
The no executive of the year votes to champion pipeline remains strong. So
I've also never won executive of the year.
Really?
Which is
Shameful.
I think insane. I think there is a movement to be like, why is this an award that we're voting on?
Yeah,
And
isn't the executive of the year the person who wins the title?
it should be that
in fantasy. Yeah.
It shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
But John Gonzalez won executive of the year, despite the fact that he was well behind me in second place, and that Legs beat him in the first round of the playoffs.
It's unbelievable. So Sixers lose to the Bulls today, end up 24-58, solidly in that fifth seed. There is a 64% chance they will keep the pick on lottery party night.
Pretty good.
A 42% chance they will get into the top four, and a 10.5% chance they get the number one pick, which is just behind the top three or whatever, top four or whatever, right? That just have 10.5%. So
the top three seeds have 14%.
Okay, right.
New Orleans at 4 has 12.5. Sixers have 10.5. Yeah.
There you go. Congratulations.
But the biggest deal of being 5 is that when they draw the top four, they have 2 teams can jump behind them.
And they can keep their pick.
Yeah.
No. One team can jump.
One team can jump behind them. 2 teams jump. We're done.
You're saying behind. You mean in front.
I don't mean anything.
Okay.
I no longer mean anything.
Okay.
Everything is backwards, and it's fine.
All right.
24-58. What a year.
What
you
a
could have.
year.
You could have. There's a chance that, I mean, before the season, 58-24 was much more likely than 24-58.
Absolutely.
And yet here we are.
It's just later on during the pod, do a little season in review. And I went through our pod episodes.
Oh, no.
And it's just, you could say this about almost any Sixer season of the Process era, but all that happened is just, it really is a crushing year to go through.
Crushing.
It really is. And the amount of times that there weren't a lot of times, but just looking, we'll get to it, but looking at the evolution of hope to hopelessness was incredible. And I
feel like I lost hope real fast.
You did. You lost hope very early. You started calling for the tank very early.
Yeah.
Very early. We'll get to how early it was, but you were first in on that. And I think whether it was because you were right or because you just needed the season off and you're wishing it into existence, maybe a combination of both.
For sure.
Yeah, but you had it early. You definitely had it early. What a year. we don't have to talk about this game.
Lonnie Walker,
Oh,
31
all right,
points
all
on
right.
11 of 23.
Okay.
He gets in there. He's eight threes. He gets hot. Good for him. Good for Lonnie. Started the season in overseas. Doesn't make the Celtics. Comes back. 31 points in his last game.
Oh yeah.
Take that into the offseason, Lon.
Yep.
Tough one for Quentin Grimes. Seems like he just ran out of steam. Started missing a lot of shots.
Yeah.
But I really would love to. If this is the last time we see Quentin Grimes, I'm gonna be really disappointed because I just think he's the perfect kind of player in a world, regardless of if Embiid and Paul George are here. But if in a world where you want Maxey and McCain to be, operating the most, I would love to have Grimes as a competent, can handle the ball a little bit, can get to the rim a little bit, but catch and shoot, can move the ball, plays defense, bodies up, strong, runs out in transition, has a high motor. My kind of player. I would really love to see him come back.
I think one of my favorite things toward the end of the season was the evolution of both a Jared Butler to a Dembona alley-oops and lobs, and also just a Dembona in general.
Oh, great.
Just both, not just his evolution as a player, he got better, but he plays with a lot of joy. Like, the guy smiles a lot. He's having a good time out there. He works hard. I do enjoy him quite a bit. And
absolutely,
we talked on the last pod. Him as backup center, if Embiid is there, is absolutely, totally, 100% fine. Seems
for sure. I mean, he's got things to work on.
Yeah.
But 16 and 9 and 2 blocks, just like doing the stuff that a backup center should be doing. And like it was the case with B-Ball Paul, I just don't really mind having like a backup center that fouls. Like, I just don't mind it. Usually he's fouling guys that are going to get an easy dunk. So like use them up. That's what it's about. So him having like an issue with as far as fouls go, not a problem for me. For me, it's a bigger deal of like, get stronger, get sturdier, work on your balance, and just keep rising up and dunking. But I thought he had a really nice back half of the season. Doesn't play too much in the beginning, and then gets a lot of time to work on some shit. Sure. And he finishes 67% from the line, which is perfectly fine for a rookie big. And let's see if we can elevate that. If that gets into the low to mid 70s, then that's a real weapon for a backup center. I think he's perfectly capable, and it's a really nice, solid single in the second round.
So, a few players talked today, and Paul George talked. He didn't say anything too interesting. Nick Nurse and Daryl Morey are talking together, maybe talking right now. Definitely an indication that they are not going anywhere. For anyone who thought either of them were, we always sort of got the sense that they didn't want to fire Nick Nurse, and I don't think the Sixers are going to fire Daryl Morey, at least not this year.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there could have been a world where truly right now it is announced that both guys are fired.
Yeah, but they're doing the.
But I could also see it that they think about it over the next couple of days and make a move. I wouldn't rule it out fully. This is not me talking about something like I know, but
yeah,
it was a really bad season. They're in a precarious place.
You think they would fire Morey?
If they're just tired of it. The thing with Daryl has been like, there's just too many. He just burns a little hot, Yeah. Where you just want a GM. Nobody wants a personable GM. Like, you just want a regular, normal, like, quiet fella. And Daryl, whether it's his fault or not, or just based on his personality or not, but like, he steps in it sometimes, or his reputation has sort of just grown over the years to where it's not even things that he does, or it's just an outsized impact on, like, if Daryl says something or does something because he's like the most famous GM.
That said, we hope he comes on the pod real soon to talk about.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying you should be fired. I don't.
You just think there's a world in which they're like, fuck this. Because remember,
because of the Harden stuff, because of the Pat Beverly stuff, like Marcus Morris, like it a little snowballs, and that's if they just want to get off it and they think it's bad. I don't know. Or if Joel is like ready to lose it. I don't know. But I don't know if you're listening to Joel anymore. Like,
fuck him. Yeah. I mean, he's got to come to practice on time before he can fire the GM, I think. And
hard to argue with that.
Yeah, I don't think. And fair to remember, when they hired Daryl, they had actually just hired what's his name, Dinwiddie from the Pacers,
Yeah.
and they had elevated Elton Brand, and somebody else became available, and they changed their mind. It's not like they kept those guys, but I don't think Elton Brand, when he was promoted, thought that Daryl Morey was going ahead of them. So it certainly shows that they can change. The Sixers ownership can change course if something presents itself.
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
But I thought this quote from Maxey was just like, I didn't know whether to feel good about it because he was saying it or to feel bad about it because he needs to say it. But here's something that Tyrese Maxey said on his farewell press conference today.
And then the names on the paper, it does have it looks nice. It does. And I think we've seen where our peaks can be in this year. It wasn't a lot of them, but there was some stretches where we all played and we looked really good. We found the right rotations. We knew who to get the ball to, who we need to get the ball to them. Everybody got shots. Everybody looked good. And so the sky's the limit. That's the thing that I can say. But the work has to be put in from day one, not from in the middle of the season. It has to be put in from today is our last game. Whenever everybody decides to start working out again, that's when our season for next year starts, individually and collectively. So, and it has to be taken serious, and I think we will take it serious. And I have the ultimate faith in the organization and the guys up top and my teammates to do that.
That sounds like a guy who doesn't have the ultimate faith in his teammates to do it, who then said that at the end. Just like the idea that he has to say, we have to take it seriously from the beginning and we have to work hard from the beginning, not the middle of the year. It's just like such a disappointing thing for him to have to say about a team that was supposed to compete for a championship this year.
I think two things. One, so those three guys, Maxey, George, and Embiid, played 12 full games together. Mm-hmm. There were 12 games where none of them got hurt and left the game early. 12 games. In those 12 games, I don't think that we saw the peaks of what we expected. Obviously both, all those guys were working back from injury and shaking the rust off and all that stuff. But I don't think there was a stretch of games when you were going, oh yeah, this is how it's supposed to look.
Right.
Maybe a moment here and there, but certainly not enough to say there's anything meaningful out of that. And yeah, I think what Maxey is saying is the three of us need to get together in the offseason, and I think Taryn might have said something about it on the broadcast. Get together in the offseason and work out together and build that trust and chemistry. And yeah,
he just seems irritated by everything, and he has all year. I'm not insulting him for that. It's just disappointing that Maxey is the guy's what the fuck are we doing here? Do you know what I mean?
Everybody needs to get away from each other for a little bit.
Yeah.
And just get the bad taste of the season out. Joel obviously just gets his scope done a couple days ago, and hopefully he'll heal up from that and start to feel more like himself. Who knows? I think we should do. Obviously, we have a long offseason ahead of us.
Oh yeah,
with a couple flashpoint moments.
Yep.
But I think we need to do one podcast where it's okay, this is the podcast where we are operating under the assumption that Embiid and Paul George come back healthy. We do that's the okay, this season was an aberration. We just play that out because it's such a different world.
Yes. Make pretend that,
this is that reality.
Sure.
And then another podcast where it's okay, this is the version where Embiid is never going to be the same. Maybe we'll never play 30 games again in a season.
Right.
And Paul George, you're trying to trade for anything because you're moving, say they get the pick, whether it's wherever it lands in the lottery. If they get the pick, then you go, okay, that is Maxey McCain and draft pick. We are full pivoting to the next generation of this team, and Embiid's salary is just going to hang around us like an anchor on our necks. And we'll try to trade Paul George for someone who is expiring sooner, basically. And we try to do that podcast. And because I feel I sort of keep going back and forth where it's well, if it's like this, then it's like this. And well, if it's like that, then it's like that. And so
we should plant our feet on what it looks like on both sides.
Yeah,
or what it should look like.
Because it's so different. And there's just, the Sixers are still, I think, posturing as if, yeah, this is just a bad year, and we have full faith, and the doctors are saying everything's going to come back fine. Like Paul George won't have, what was his pinky injury called?
Mallet finger.
Mallet finger. What a horrifying phrase. And really, this whole season was mallet finger.
Mallet finger, yeah.
So they're still posturing like that, but it also, I think from on the fan base side, on the like media side, everybody seems to think no way Embiid comes back looking like anything like himself.
Right.
But the Sixers claim that he's going to. So, I mean, we'll play out both realities and see what options are for both.
The Rice Ricky Sanchez podcast is brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. You want to talk about options? There's no options when you have a dog. What that dog should be sleeping on. Big Barker Therapeutic. Look at this Process Pup patch.
Look
Isn't that
at
cool?
that.
Oh, you want one of these? One of the red, white, and blue ones? You just go to bigbarker.com/Ricky. You get these for free. You get some stickers for free as well. And all that's nice. But the big part is, one of my a few bosses at work, one of them came over. He has, I'm sure he won't mind me saying, he's hired me a few different times in my career. It's like, my son just got a dog, adopted a dog. I told him to get Big Barker. He didn't do it. And I got,
wow.
They were like, they bought some $29.99 bed, from a pet store. And I got
Gonna have
furious.
to replace that pretty soon.
Well, and I got furious. I was like, first of all, if you're talking about a cost perspective, first of all, what is your dog's health worth? It is, forever. But then you're going to have to replace that bed over and over. So he just starts mimicking what I'm saying into voice text to his son to get him the bed. And I said, tell him I'll buy him the fucking bed. I can't have his dog sleeping on the shitty bed.
Wow.
I can't do it. Big Barker dog beds are engineered by experts to make keep your dog healthier. That's it. It is a real bed, supportive, therapeutic dog bed to keep your dog's joints in better condition. Whether your dog is young, has his whole life ahead of him, you want to keep that dog as healthy and happy as long as possible. Whether your dog is older, start to have those creaky joints. Oh my God, I can't even remember the difference. I went from a bad mattress to a good mattress, the difference it made in my back and all that sort of stuff. It makes the same difference in your dog. There's a 10-year warranty. We'll get to that in a second. A 10-year warranty on it too. So
Does the foam flatten?
it doesn't, or they replace it for free, Mike. What are we talking about here?
Unbelievable.
Your dog lives for what, 10 years, 15 years, depending on your dog. Maybe if you're lucky, a little bit longer. If you're going to make an investment in your dog's health, a Big Barker is a good way to do it. There's Barker Jr., so that's the tiny one. Actually, we have some cats that sleep on Barker Juniors as well, all the way up to the XL. I think I slept on the large in that kennel that time. I felt good. I felt great the next day. Felt no different than I felt before, which I thought was actually a plus. And I'm not a big guy, but I'm bigger than most dogs, and I was fine. Penn Vet
Bigger than most dogs. Spike Eskin.
Yep. I would say so. Penn Vet even did a study, showed all this stuff to be true. A reduction in pain severity, reduction in joint stiffness. It's great. Again, bigbarker.com/Ricky. Make sure you send us a picture of the dog so we could post them. You get the Process Pup patches. 10-year warranty, as Mike said, or as I said, and as Mike said, the foam doesn't flatten. 1 year at-home trial. If you don't like it, they'll give you a full refund. They'll even pay for the shipping. It's handmade in the USA. Big Barker dog beds. Now, this report from one Scoop B. The Milwaukee Bucks have discussed bringing 76ers executive Elton Brand into a front office role, I'm told. While there is no confirmed role or offer at this stage, the discussions around Brand in Milwaukee point to a larger trend in the NBA team seeking balance between executive acumen and lived locker room experience. Brand is currently the GM of the 76ers. I think Elton will leave for a true GM role at some point.
Seems strange to go lateral, right?
If he doesn't get the full GM role.
Right.
Yeah. I think my gut tells me that he told us when he first got hired for the Sixers as GM and he was on stage with us, he said that he had turned down, I guess, an assistant GM role job with the Hawks at that point to stay with the Sixers, and he ended up getting that job. I think these last few years have actually probably been really good for him to work with Daryl and be sort of a guy behind the guy, but with increased responsibility each time. I know people don't think much of Elton Brand as a executive in Philly, but I think he's pretty well thought of across the league. I think he's a very smart guy. I think he'll get a job at some point, but I can't imagine he'd leave without getting a full, president of basketball operations type GM job somewhere. A guy who's making the decisions, I guess. Final line.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
As I said, the Sixers end up in the 5th spot. Just a truly unbelievable outcome for your Philadelphia 76ers. Congratulations to you, Mike, to me, Spike, to you, CJ, and to all of us for making it through.
Thank you. This is you know, defensively, the Sixers have been putrid the entire season.
Yep.
This is the worst defensive team in Philadelphia 76ers history. Going back to the Syracuse Nationals days.
Statistically, or just you're
statistically?
Saying? Oh,
really? At least according to defensive rating. Now,
wow.
I think that obviously offense around the league has gotten more efficient over the years.
Sure.
But even if you sort it by, this is per Basketball Reference, but if you sort by relative defensive rating, it's tied for the third worst in Sixers history, only behind the 95-96 and 96-97 Sixers. So just before Iverson and getting Iverson. Can I give you a guess? Do you want to guess? Just playing with fun with some top line numbers.
Yeah.
Do you want to give a guess who led the Sixers in win shares this season?
Well, it would have to be a player who played a good deal.
Yeah, let me give you, since the last Sixer to lead the team in win shares, when they didn't make the playoffs, was TJ McConnell in 16-17. And it hit 3.8 win shares. Then it went Simmons 9.2, Embiid 8.7, Simmons 6.9, Embiid 8.8, Embiid 12.0, Embiid 12.3, and last year Maxey 8.1. Who led it this year?
So I'm going to say the number is probably around 4.
3.9.
Okay. And that's pretty proud of myself there.
Yep.
Is it Oubre?
It is not.
Okay.
He was third on the team in minutes. Oubre was first in minutes.
This person was third on the
This
team in
person was
minutes.
third. Oubre, Maxey, this person.
Yabusele.
It was Yabusele.
Wow, who's going to be at Live Ricky 6 in the lottery party? Gershon
win
Yabusele.
shares.
And anybody
Paul George was fourth on the team in minutes played, which is actually pretty insane to think about.
that he was, yeah. Gershon Yabusele. See, Daryl Morey did do a good job. He had the leader in win shares on a minimum contract.
There you go. There you go. They did say there was a quote from and we'll do like stay or go. We've talked about this a bunch, but there was talking about Oubre, mentioning him on the broadcast. They did say that he feels like he has unfinished business.
I would like for him to stay.
Yeah, it starts to get a little crowded.
Yeah.
Numbers wise, if that pick conveys.
Well, if the pick conveys, everything changed.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that. I wonder how you handle it, right? There's a chance that Oubre, he has a player option.
Yep.
So if he opts in, the Sixers could then trade him, or he could opt out. They could tell him, "Hey, if you opt in, we are going to trade you." So maybe I think they'll probably wait to see what the results of the lottery are. But on a personal level, it might be, they have to have these conversations with Oubre, with Grimes, with Yabusele, and I think just like reputationally, they should do right by those guys. Like there should be like a clear communication.
Yeah, I think
to start to just build out that they are an organization that players can deal with and can be trusted to be like dealt with respectfully.
I agree.
It used to be, I think maybe it was like, hey man, we're just trying to win games. We do whatever we can. And if they, if you want to come play here, we're competing for a championship every year.
Essentially, don't let Oubre opt in and trade him if he doesn't know he's going to get traded if he opts in.
I think so.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you there.
It's just that's just a shitty way to do business with someone.
I also don't think there's a huge market for Oubre out there anyway. There's not a lot of cap space, and I don't think he's maybe there's more years out there for him somewhere. Maybe there's 2 years for $8 million a year rather than the 1 year. But I don't know what sort of a market there is there. As much as we like him and as good as I thought he was, and I do think he and Yabusele get like Player of the Year awards for the Sixers this year just because of their consistent effort, but I don't know what the market is for either of them.
Yeah, I was so much higher on Oubre. He just really, his lack of consistent shooting, I thought it was going to be, I was so high on the idea that he's going to have a good shooting season as like the fifth option on this team. And he's just not a good enough outside shooter to where you start to go, we have to retain him.
Yes, I agree with you. But I also think, and I don't think he's that good a shooter. It's also a different world with him as a shooter with the team and its normal capacity.
But he there's enough of a sample size over the years
Yes.
now where you can go like, hey, he's just a sub 33% shooter
Yes.
from deep. Like,
Yeah.
and that's really hard to play with. People still guard him out there, so that's at least something, but it's not like they treat him like they treated Matisse or Ben or whatever. They do cover him, but yeah, he'd be such a, I love him as a player. I love him as like a hustle player. I love him defensively. I love the vibes he brings. He's a happy guy. And he plays physical. I like that he dunks, all the good stuff, but he's really, at a certain point, he's got to hit enough shots. Now this team figures to be, if he's the fifth guy and you're just, swapping him and Quentin Grimes out as like the fifth guy in that lineup, but like Maxey, McCain, Paul George, Embiid, those are all a bunch of really good shooters.
Sure.
To where Oubre doesn't necessarily need to be like an elite shooter because he's filling the gaps and stuff, but it'd be nice if he was.
So the lottery party is May 12th at Franklin Music Hall, formerly the Electric Factory. Just a few general admission tickets left. I can't believe we're probably going to sell out that place, which is pretty awesome. So thank you. Remember that ticket sales will benefit Providence Animal Center and Mama T's Community Fridge. Gershon Yabusele joins us for Live Ricky 6 after the lottery. Professor Jack will join Mike at 7:30 on stage to explain what we're cheering for during the lottery. I was going back and forth on email with Professor Jack today, and he said, do you think Mike would want to do a Zoom with me to prepare beforehand, or is the unprepared bit something that he's committed to?
We could talk. We could do a Zoom.
Okay, well, all right. And I was like, I will check with Mike. So
We can chat.
yeah, so we will have that and a lot of fun. It's going to be a great time. And remember, if we don't get the pick and it's miserable, you're going to want to be with other people. And if we do get the pick and celebrate, imagine we get number one. Imagine what that place will be like. So we did get it'll melt down. The doors will open at 6, and if you want tickets, it's in the link of the pod. Or I think RightsRickySanchez.com/lottery still works. So we did get a couple of voicemails about that night that I think were interesting to listen to. 833 Lickface, this is the first one.
Guys, just a quick thought, for the lottery party, if you want to get silver to fix it, what about advertising like a human sacrifice if we don't get the number one pick? Now, just make it all official. Like, have Kornblau draw up waivers, legal documents that everybody that enters the lottery party has to sign and says, in case we don't get the number one pick, we will be conducting a human sacrifice. And just as an example, you remember the book in middle school, way back we had to read called The Lottery, where there was a civilization and they had a drawing every year and one person got picked and they stoned that person to death?
Yeah.
You do something like that at the lottery party, if we don't get the number one pick. Maybe instead of stones, use basketballs or ping pong balls or some shit. Just a thought. One other thing. I'm assuming the Sixers are going to have a postseason press conference on Monday with Morey and Nurse and maybe Harris. Can you please send Mike O'Connor? Because he's the one person that kind of will ask the right questions that the fans want to hear. So just a request that if they have that postseason press conference, please send Mike O'Connor. All right. Thanks, guys.
So, Mike, before we get to the Mike O'Connor part, your thoughts on a human sacrifice at the lottery?
I like it. Well, I like referencing the lottery. It's a short story, iconic short story that everybody had to read. It's a kind of a fucked up thing to make middle schoolers or early high schoolers read. It's like, why is this on the scope? But it's good material. And I do think the fact that it is a lottery, we should consider it.
Yeah.
Now,
how do you kill with basketballs? Sounds like it would take a while to kill somebody.
I think ping pong balls feels more right.
Well, that'll take forever.
What do you mean?
To kill somebody with ping pong balls?
We don't need to kill somebody. We just, for the lottery party, we just say, hey, who's a volunteer that if they don't get, if the pick doesn't convey, I would probably do it if the pick doesn't convey.
Okay.
Where you would just say, okay. And
everybody throws a ping pong ball at
we just throw a ping pong ball at somebody who it's a volunteer to get,
That would be funny.
Get loaded up with balls.
Okay. All right. We could do that. I was actually thinking literally about a human sacrifice.
Yeah. I think I sort of steered us away from that.
Okay.
But I like it as a threat. I'm fine with threatening Silver. That blood is on his hands if he doesn't rig it for us. I'm fine with that.
The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast brought to you by Briggs Auction, the official auction of the Ricky. The thing about Briggs Auction is, first of all, you can download the app in the App Store or Google Play. Every week, Briggs Auction has tons of stuff that you didn't know you needed until you saw it in Briggs Auction. collectibles and art and furniture and old electronics and a watch that I should have fucking got and I got outbid on and I wasn't aggressive enough. And 3 weeks later, I'm still really disappointed that I didn't get it. Right now, there's actually 2 auctions every single week, lots, hundreds of them every single week, with a lot of the lots starting at as little as $1. Let's bring up CJ. I see what he chose is a great item. CJ's Briggs auction item of the week.
Before we get into my item of the week, I want to take a second to brag that I did win the Swapper stools.
Oh, congratulations.
Wait, the one, the springs one? The one that has springy stools?
Whoa.
Wow.
The ones that are going to make my core rock solid.
Whoa.
Have you gotten them yet?
No, I'm going to pick them up tomorrow.
Amazing.
I'm
All
excited.
right,
Yes.
I need to see them on the next pod.
Yeah, certainly. But for the item of the week, we got the
this is so cool.
vintage Philco Predicta television.
Wow.
And I saw this and thought immediately of the early IMAX in like the late 90s and
Yes.
made me think like they had to have been inspired by these at some extent.
Yeah.
The description says the screen isn't working, but the clock works. So
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
Sick. It
It's a cool looking thing. Why
Yeah.
Predicta? Does it feel like it feels like almost it's
Maybe
a TV
you're looking
show,
into the
like,
future.
the dimension, this TV shows you what will happen.
Yeah. I don't know. Boy, that's cool. It would be cool to get and fix.
Yeah, a lot
You know?
of character. Makes me want to learn like because it can't be like that complicated from
No.
piece of
I
research.
assume you could always fill it. Maybe you could, instead of fixing it, like put a screen inside the screen that just works. And that way you have the shell of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So there's 2 auctions going on right now, by the way, one that ends on the 18th and one that ends on the 25th, but they're both open for bidding.
I just like CJ on engineering. It
Yes.
can't be that complicated. I like it.
If you win an item, they have open pickup on Saturdays, or if you're like CJ, you can make an appointment. And if you have a bunch of stuff to sell, maybe you have an old Predicta TV. Send an email to info@briggsauction.com. Steve and Steffo take care of you. We love them so much. We love Briggs Auction. briggsauction.com. Briggs Auction, the official auction of the Ricky. And then we got this outrageous story. Not story, but outrageous fact from voicemail about the lottery party.
Hey chaps, it's your premier UK correspondent calling in, Angela. I just wanted to tell you some very important news that is the British are coming. I've got my tickets to the lottery party and I will be flying out to see you guys. So I hope I get a badge as Ultimate Sicko for that. Secondly, the LeBron Stephen A Part 2 has got me thinking based on something Rachel Lindsay mentioned. She said that it was giving her housewives energy, to which I would ask Mike to give his opinion on which housewives and what housewife child drama this is giving. Because to me, it's kind of giving me a bit of Potomac energy, a little bit of Tyrese Eulogy energy. Anyway, would like your thoughts on that. Okay, looking forward to seeing you in May, guys.
All right. So first of all, she's flying from the UK to the lottery party. Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You get Ultimate Sicko Award. Maybe should we stone her with the
No,
ping pong balls?
that's not
Okay.
fair.
Okay.
That's not fair. She's gonna be so tired and jet
Okay.
lagged. She
All
should
right.
have ping pong balls thrown at her.
Okay.
We should ask for volunteers though if you want to be. If the Sixers
Stoned.
don't get,
Yeah.
should it be that they don't get the number 1 pick, or should they don't? The pick doesn't convey.
The pick doesn't convey.
Okay.
I-
If the pick doesn't convey, we need
Yeah.
someone.
Can I want to set the expectations here. If we keep the pick, the night is a win.
100%.
And I want everyone to know. I keep talking about the number 1 pick. It's great to talk about. If we keep the pick, the night is a win. We're all happy. So,
Yes.
all right, continue.
And then I would say, I really haven't checked in that much on the LeBron Stephen A drama. I just find it so annoying, and it's not something I've been locked into. But from what I've seen, I would say there's a little Meredith Marks to it. Salt Lake City, Housewives of Salt Lake.
Okay. I don't know what any of this means.
It's a great franchise, great show. Meredith and her son, who has been brought up on the show before. And then that would make Stephen A. I mean, I guess who's like maybe Jen Shaw, but that's I'm conflicting things. But maybe you would say it was like Heather is kind of Stephen A. or Lisa Barlow. Maybe that would be kind of what it would be. That's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Lisa Barlow is Stephen A. and Meredith Marks is LeBron.
I wish I could. I wish I could react. I don't know the references, but
people will like it. I think the people that know will like it.
It's a very good. Somebody who just got in. When did stoning with ping pong balls come up? You can't stone the only woman.
Ridiculous.
It won't be the only woman.
First of all, it's going to be at least 20%.
Well, 20.
Total. 20%.
20.
20%.
Total.
100%, 20%.
Okay.
I might go up. I may say 33%. But no, we're not going to be throwing ping pong balls at our friend Angela from the UK flying over.
If she's going over an ocean to get here, I feel like we shouldn't stone her.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned at the beginning, I wanted to look back at the season itself, and I just want to read you some pod titles and think back to what we were thinking. I've also, once the season starts, included the team's record as the pod title happened.
Okay.
This will forever go down in history as he gave you a gift to accompany the podcast, as on July 29th, Daryl Morey returns to discuss the successful Sixers cap space offseason, in which he gave you a jersey that said cap space on the back.
Yeah.
And boy, has a victory lap ever worked out worse. I mean, I guess you could say ours in Retweet Armageddon. That victory lap didn't work out too well with Markelle Fultz, and this victory lap, boy, just did not work out.
Yeah.
Didn't work out.
I think Retweet Armageddon. I still have I have fondness about Retweet Armageddon.
Well, I'm glad it happened. Yeah.
I think we got it there. It wasn't, now I say this knowing that it partially was, but it wasn't fully our fault. Whereas Daryl did. That's the benefit of us being hands off. We don't know. We're not the ones making the decisions.
Right.
Although occasionally a second round pick or at least an undrafted guy could be attributed to probably them wanting to pacify me from being as annoying as I am. But yeah, it was a bad victory lap.
Yeah.
It was a bad one.
I don't blame him. I would have taken it too. But
100%.
That's what happens when you take a victory lap. On September 9th, Maxey's MVP chances. Eagles predictions. Boy, that didn't really, and I don't think we thought that he had very many MVP chances, but even the fact that was a headline of a pod. September 23rd, Joel Embiid signs an extension, and how much does the regular season matter?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Now that the regular season is over, we can say it did matter a little bit.
At least some.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This is great. Now, this happened during the preseason. Joy over Paul George's debut and a starting lineup change. Joy over Paul George's debut.
I mean, this is just...
Yeah.
This is replaying our worst memories before we die.
Right.
That's what we're doing right now.
Okay. It starts off, the Sixers lose to the Bucks in the opener, and Embiid and George sidelined to start the season. That's October 24th. Then
it really started off. It really started off right away.
We should have known right away.
Because this is another John Gonzalez reference, but John's Twitter profile used to be like @ like Johnny Gons, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to start with an underscore. It's really like you immediately like running a race and immediately just falling into a hole. Like here we go, and you're down. And that is how the Sixers season went. Pretty similar to John's former Twitter handle.
It was bad from the start. You were right in bailing so quickly, in that all the signs were there from the start. Not just them losing games, but all of it.
All of it. Yeah. I guess we'll get to Marcus Hayes in a second.
Oh, we will. October 28th, they're 1-2. The Sixers stink so far, and PJ Tucker rumors.
That's just you. That's just your agenda.
October 31st, a Sixers therapy session about Embiid knees and the Pistons loss. After they got
those Pistons losses don't look as bad.
No. Then at 1-5 on November 4th, Embiid shoves Marcus Hayes, and the Sixers lose.
Oh, yeah. And I gotta say, honestly, now looking back, because the reports of wasn't the first report that he punched him?
Yes, and then Keith Pompey deleted the tweet.
He undid that.
Yeah.
Now that the season has come and gone and was as bad as it was, he should have punched him. He should have just punched him.
Might as well.
It may as well like be out for. Oh, you're suspended for 2 months. Great.
Yeah.
Would have been fine. Retrospectively, that should have been that.
By the way, people are posting now. The Sixers went 4-28 after Daryl Morey said, "If you squint, you can see us in the championship."
Were they really
game.
4-28?
Yes, 4-28.
4-28.
Yeah, they won.
That is
what was that? 13% of their games they won. About that.
That's like squinting so hard that your like eyes like
Yes.
do the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Roll back into your head.
Yeah.
Situation.
The Sixers, by the way, Joel Embiid had not played a game until that point. The Sixers were 1-5. On November 8th, Maxey hurt, and the midseason tournament is the goal now. So at that point, we had already our championship dreams already gone. We said if we win the midseason tournament, it counts. That was
it would have counted.
Yes.
They couldn't even give us that.
So a point of joy on November 11th, the Jared McCain game, and the Sixers were 2-7, and we saw a return. We got a return date for Joel Embiid, but saw Jared McCain becoming what we would get to watch before he ended up, getting hurt. I think he was also minimized a little bit when the guys came back, but seeing Jared McCain look like Steph Curry for a little bit and be the primary offensive option, I think was one of the few little moments of joy we had all season long. Yeah.
Jared Butler and Jeff Dalton both played more minutes this season than Jared McCain and Joel Embiid. So that hurts a little bit.
Yeah.
Looking back now, do you look at, and my answer to this is probably no, just because they were trying to do something else. But McCain breaks 20 minutes only once in his first 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
He played like sparingly or not at all in 3 of them. Are you annoyed that he didn't play more in those games when he was like so clearly like this good? Because then he starts to play 30 minutes a night, and it's 18, 27, 23, 34, 29, 20, 20, 30. Like he's on fire, and it's like, oh, there's life to this team. They obviously weren't winning games, but
hard for me to say when I think we all thought he looked bad in Summer League, and
he did look bad in Summer League. That's a good point. Yeah.
So right. I don't know. They drafted him, so obviously they believe in him, but like I didn't believe enough to say throw this guy out there.
Yeah, I mean that's worth bringing up talking about Jared, but like he didn't look good in Summer League. We were feeling a little Evan Turner-y, like getting a shot blocked, getting to the mid range, and then like sort of not knowing what to do with it, and you rise up and there's just a bigger, more athletic guy covering you that can get a hand up and stuff. But then when the regular season started, it was just like, oh, he's
awesome.
He's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Like he's absolutely awesome. One of the few calls he'll be able to hold this over me for all time. But Sam from Light Years said that he's called him a Steph disciple and said he would be better than Maxey. And I thought I was laughing at him. That was before the season started.
I mean, it was a great pick. Not one that I loved, but he's one of the few very, very bright spots this season. And I'm super excited to watch him when he's recovering from the meniscus.
Yes. Then the next one, another just sort of real moment in the season. They're 2-12. Maxey challenges Embiid, and the Sixers are the what the fuck franchise as our what the fuck moment. I believe thing was at 2.5.
I feel like I was wrong on that one.
I don't remember
going back. It's hard to do. Math is so hard to count it all up, but it does feel like when we were doing the what the fuck number over under, I do think that I probably went under.
Yeah, well, you're the eternal optimist,
Well, I swing.
Yeah. The fact that that this happened this year as well. So we had the team meeting that the team had, I think after a loss, where there was shouting. And it was leaked out definitely by Eric Gordon what happened in the meeting. And
so you're willing to be like Eric Gordon definitely leaked it, but you're not willing to say how you know that James Harden has a lot of sex. And it's just like that feels just contradictory. That feels like
because I can't reveal.
That just feels.
Well, I'm not. By the way, I'm not revealing my source on either of them.
I'm not asking for the source on the Harden one. I'm just asking what for specifics.
I bet me giving the specifics would be revealing the source. I can't. I just know that Eric Gordon doesn't like Embiid at all and wishes he wasn't here.
That's fine.
Yeah.
He disappeared anyway.
Yeah, he did. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast brought to you by Adam Ksebe, the official realtor of the process. Ksebe, Ksebe. That is Ksebe. Look, I just went through a process buying a house, process selling a house. It's not a ton of fun. You need good people in your corner. Talked about Mortgage CS. Adam Ksebe is about as good a realtor as you can have in your corner as possible. When you're looking to buy a home in the Delaware beaches, it is competitive as all motherfuck down there. I will tell you. Super competitive. And having a great realtor who is in it every single day, who knows every street of every little town in the Delaware beaches, who is going to make sure that he is the difference between you getting the house and not getting the house. That's what Ksebe is. His team is based out of Long and Foster in Bethany Beach, every square inch of Delaware, every square inch of Maryland. If you want to buy a house, if you want to sell a house, he is your key. And as I've said many, many times before, if you're looking to buy or sell a house outside of Delaware or Maryland and you don't have a realtor, make him your first call. So he can't do it, but he's got a giant network of realtors. And what he'll do is he will have a conversation with you, find out what you're looking for. Then he will interview realtors and get you the best one. So I think I'm doing the pod in May at a Ricky Ksebe guy's house. Ooh. I think at the weekend after the lottery party, because I said I would do it and I'm going to do it. So if you want Ksebe, if you want to buy a house, sell a house, whatever, especially in Delaware beaches, give him a call or shoot him a text. This is his direct cell, 302-864-8643. 302-864-8643 or adam@processrealtor.com. That is Adam Ksebe, the official realtor of the process. So here is a seminal moment in the pod, 3-14 on November 28th. The question is, how long do the Sixers have to suck before they decide to tank? Which is when I assume that you really brought up that now at the point they were 5.5 games out of the 5 seed, which is very funny. And we cling to the only a game out of the play-in for so long. But at 3-14, a horrible start is when we started asking the question about tanking.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say, so all 2024, I was on this show, which I think I'll be able to talk about soon. But the show, it was like the hours were long. And so I didn't get to watch a lot of games live at the time, including like the obviously I always remember like the end of the playoffs last year where I was trying to like catch up really quickly. And do those pods right after. But it really got the hours once production started, the hours got even longer. And so it was like, I just want to say, had I been even more engaged in that 3-14 start, I would have lost my mind at a level that I don't think I've ever done on a podcast, at least a regular season podcast.
Right.
So it was almost a blessing that I was so preoccupied by that.
Right.
That's why this season it was like, just end it, just call it. Don't make me like check in and like have to watch them and like hope that they come back and make the run and stuff. So
well, yeah, it prevented you from getting in too, because you weren't getting you wouldn't get as distraught over losses, but you wouldn't get as excited over wins as well. Yeah.
This once it became clear 3-14, Embiid doesn't look like himself. Paul George is banged up and out. Like Maxey's slow start was really like rough, because if he'd been playing well, they could have won a handful of more of those games and made it within like a stone's throw of still coming close to play-in, which really was not that competitive this season or ever in the East. But because of how he was also bad at the beginning of the year, it was just like, oh my God, this opportunity to tank and keep the pick is there. Let's just take it, because this is awful. Everything is going wrong at once.
We did an emergency podcast on December 16th when Jared McCain tore his meniscus. Then as well, also released on December 16th. I actually think the first one came out on the 15th. And the next one, Joel Embiid broke his face again and the season might be over. I didn't even remember the Joel Embiid breaking his face again thing. I can't believe that happened this season. And I thought he was going to be out for months. I think he was only out for like 2 weeks or something.
Oh yeah, it was the orbital thing.
Yep. And
Again,
then
should have just been out for months. Would have been better, I think.
would have been better. So
Yeah.
then the Sixers beat the Celtics on Christmas. On December 30th, they're 13-17. The headline.
They were 13-17?
Yes.
Oh, I don't
Sixers
remember that at
keep
all.
winning. And then immediately 4 days later, an existential talk about the Sixers sucking again and what we're even doing here.
Yeah. 13-17.
Yes. And then
Right.
they were 14-20 after they finished a road trip, 4-2. And then it all started falling apart. January 20th, sweet relief, Joel Embiid injury ends Sixers season. But then, by the way, they do win 4 in a row.
And that was maybe the most mad I was.
The end of January when they won 4 straight.
Yeah,
with
torturous.
the trade deadline a week
Against
away.
mostly good teams, or at least solid teams.
Yeah.
That was very frustrating. Where it's like it ended up not changing, I don't think, their deadline plans,
No, that was a sell deadline.
but it certainly made it harder to get to where we ended up getting to. They had to finish the season as badly as they did to get this 5 seed and give them a 64% chance of keeping the pick.
Yep.
If they had just been regular bad these last few months, and they finished with the 6, that would have been, and they lost the pick, I would have really resented those 4 wins forever. That would have been the level of Damian Wilkins 2000 and was that 2007?
No, it was later than 7, wasn't it?
Damian Wilkins. There was for the younger listeners. Yeah, that was 2013.
Yeah.
They finished 34-48, and they win a bunch of games towards the end of the season to like sort of play them out of a better pick. But that was the Hinkies first draft.
Yes.
So they ended up trading up and getting Nerlens and MCW anyway. But there was someone in 2007 that they had a shot to get a top pick, and then they won games towards the end of the season, and it was they ended up drafting Thad that year. Instead of who they could. I wonder who I was. I'm forgetting who I was sort of blamed at that point.
Iggy was on that team. Willie Green was on that team.
Yeah,
That was
Webber
actually
still there.
so. That was the when Iverson signed and played like 4 games and then left one day. They said because his daughter was sick and never returned again. I don't think that was actually true. Wait, this is the 07 Sixers? Yeah.
Yeah, they won.
Chris Webber.
They finished.
I'm thinking of the wrong Iverson. Was that really the Iverson? Yeah, that was that Iverson year. Jesus.
Yeah.
Joe Smith was on that team?
3, 4, 5,
And
6,
Webber?
7, 8, 9. They went 9-5 to end the season, and as like a bad team,
Jesus.
and they ended up playing themselves out of
Oh, my God. Lou
possibility
Amundsen.
to get Durant or obviously Greg Oden, who I loved.
Kevin Ollie.
Yeah. Andre Miller gets 29, 9 and 8. Joe Smith 26 and 11 to beat the Raptors. Willie Green had 37. Willie Green had 37. Andre Miller plays all 48 minutes. Gets 29, 9 and 8. 13 and 15 from the line. Joe Smith 26, 11 and 4. And Willie Green drops 37 points. In 2007, when like there was very little offense still. Bobby Jones, the other Bobby Jones from UW, plays 30 minutes and scores 14 points. Only Sam Dallenberg, who was committed to the tank, played 22 minutes, didn't score. Thank you, Sam. Trying. That was tough. So I remember being very annoyed at that.
2 quick emails before we go. Sanchez@gmail.com. This is from Shannon. Shannon, longtime listener, longtime Instagram DMer, first-time emailer. Basketball question. How legitimate do you think it is for Philly to add a WNBA team? And non-basketball question, at what point is it socially acceptable to start unfollowing Process era players on social media? I recently started cleaning out the accounts I follow on Instagram, and I came across TLC and Raul Neto. I did, in fact, unfollow them.
I haven't thought about Raul Neto in a while.
Yeah. Thanks for all you guys do. I've been listening since 2014 from my college dorm room at Eastern University in Wayne, PA. I moved up and down the East Coast over the last several years. I'm about to embark on a cross-country move to the LA area.
Wow.
What, Mike? No matter where I am in the world, turning on the pod gives me a little dose of home. So thanks for that. I think
That's very sweet.
Yeah, I think it's very legitimate for the Sixers to add, or for Philadelphia to add a WNBA team. Like, I think that is a legitimate thing. I think it. So whether they do or not, I don't know. Whether they get chosen or not, I don't know. But I think it's legit.
It seems like in this, so there's they're adding 4 teams. One is coming this season. It's Golden State Valkyries, and then the Toronto Tempo, and the Portland still unnamed team, and then there's one 4th franchise yet to be announced. And I think Cleveland is up there as a possibility. Detroit, Nashville, Miami, I think. And a lot of those places have had teams before that have folded in like the early 2000s.
WNBA teams.
WNBA teams.
Okay.
And like the Detroit Shock, they like had to move basically when the league was still in its infancy, which is not dissimilar to what happened to the NBA in their first few years. So I'm a little bit annoyed if they give another. My printer's upset. I would be a little bit annoyed if they give like those kinds of franchises another shot at a WNBA team when Philly has not had one yet. But I'm sure they're not thinking about that. They're just saying like who has the strongest bid and like the most reliable like owners or what's going on.
I think having arena space is probably being able to fit the dates in, being able to support all that kind of stuff.
Well, I was wondering. Yeah, I think at some point Philly will get a WNBA team. I think women's basketball is continuing to rise, and the women's college basketball is becoming more exciting and accessible. And I think they'll probably lower the draft age soon because now you have to basically be 22 to be an American prospect to get drafted. Draft is tomorrow, WNBA draft. Excited about it. Paige Becker is going to go number 1. But I do think eventually they will continue expanding, maybe to 20 or something, and Philly would be in there. It'd be nice to have come on. It's a big basketball town.
And the non-basketball question, at what point is it socially acceptable to start unfollowing Process era players?
I think
on social?
years
now.
ago.
Yeah,
I think
now.
years. I think you're
now.
I think go for it.
Yeah, I think
I remember
the only thing that
unfollowing
ties
KJ
me
McDaniels and was just like, all right.
The only thing that ties me to some of them is I got follow backs from some of them. So if they follow back, like I'm lucky enough, I'm not unfollowing. But yeah, like you can unfollow them. That they will be fine. You know.
Who are some follow backs?
Nerlens.
Okay. Still does?
TJ. Nerlens does, yes.
Okay.
Covington.
Mm-hmm. And this
I
is
think
on what platform?
Instagram.
Okay.
Covington, I believe, on Twitter as well.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think. Who else?
Who's the worst?
Like worst player?
That you would go like, I want to unfollow Jakar, but
I don't think Jakar follows me.
Yeah.
I think the only ones...
Roten?
I don't know. I'd have to go through. I probably don't have many. It's probably like between 5 and 7.
We had Roten on the podcast, didn't we?
We did, but remember, it was
early days.
It was early days, and he almost didn't come on, and he was half asleep when he first came on, like because he had forgotten.
Sure.
Now Tony Roten.
Now that CJ is a producer, he'd be like, lay down the law.
Tony hasn't.
Wake up, Tony.
Now, Tony Roten, remember, had the legal issue as he was part of the group of players who were...
Team WAP.
No, not Team WAP. He was part of the group of players who were accused of committing insurance fraud against the league health insurance.
I don't remember that at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think that's why Big Baby Davis is in jail.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I have a bad memory these days. Too much process basketball.
Yeah. The ringleader of NBA health plan. Here's this story. Ringleader of NBA health plan fraud strikes deal. Terrence Williams.
Terrence Williams, Louisville Terrence Williams, or like a non-basketball player?
Yes.
Louisville. I liked him.
Yeah. Tony Roten was one of those players. Eddie Robinson, Jamario Moon, CDR, Tony Roten. Will Bynum, Shannon Brown, Big Baby Davis. And I think that is why Big Baby Davis is in jail.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Chris Jenkins, former Villanova legend Chris Jenkins.
Suing the NCAA.
Suing the NCAA.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
Is it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Go get your money.
What is he saying? Is he saying that because NIL didn't exist, they restricted how much money he could make? Is that essentially what the suit is saying?
I believe, and I'm not confident in this, I believe it's like, hey, you are using clips of my game-winning shot to promote the tournament, and I'm not being compensated for that.
That's what the suit is. Okay. Yeah, I didn't read it. I didn't know what the... Oh, yeah, because he is... So Jenkins sues, and here we go, reading articles. Former NCAA tournament hero Chris Jenkins, in a lawsuit filed last week with the Southern District of New York, is suing the NCAA and 6 major conferences for limiting athlete pay and restricting his ability to capitalize off his name, image, and likeness while he was at Villanova.
Oh, okay. So it is.
Yeah.
So he's just saying you should.
He's saying that basically saying that because he's saying that NIL basically was against the law and they owe him because now if the pre-NIL. Now, if he were to win this case, it would open up chaos.
Yeah, that would be a lot. That'd be a lot.
Every player.
Yeah.
The list of players in your mind, Chris Jenkins, not even top 300 of the players.
But the most iconic shot in college basketball history, I think. One of like 3 probably.
Stat, Leitner.
Yeah.
Keith Smart.
You could say Tyus Edney and Bryce Drew and stuff, but for a literal buzzer beater in the championship game.
In the championship, it's one of the most iconic for sure. Yeah. All right. We will be back with you this week.
Season's over.
Season's over.
Hey,
Congratulations.
how about a nice game from Marcus Bagley? Playing his ass off.
Yep. And
10 points, 15 rebounds.
And they got a Mobley that I had never even heard of. Just for
We've
one
talked about
game?
Isaiah Mobley before.
Oh, did we?
He was on the summer league team. He's playing.
okay.
I like that they gave him. He's playing in Delaware all season, and I like that they gave him a shot. Hey, last game, get in there.
Yeah. We will talk to you next time. We will. I don't know. We'll be around. Get your lottery party tickets.
Off season, Doug. A few tickets left.
And Kyle Lowry.
And volunteer if you want to have ping pong balls thrown at you.
Yes. And if Kyle Lowry said he wants to come back for one more year, just so you know, before we get out of here.
I might say no thanks.
Might pass. Maybe we should stone him with a lottery ball.
Jesus.
With the lottery balls.
I think stone. We should try to limit stone. We should limit that as the phrase, because even if you end on lottery ball or ping pong ball, people really you hear stone and
just
you're
stoning
like,
him. That's fair. That's fair. Good talking us out of that. All right, we'll talk to you next time. Are you done with TTP?
Yeah, Lake Face, we did it.
We did it.
Season